stick, I pause it, and I like chew an ice cube down to the correct size.
What the heck? I gotta interrupt you guys. This is a great whiskey. Sorry, Robbie, go on. Welcome once again to Chill Filtered, the podcast where we drink whiskey so you don't have to, but you probably should, and you probably are, and that's why we like you. You're probably wondering, if you're watching on YouTube, where's Robbie? And Robbie will be a big part of this episode, but turned out we did an interview episode this week with Mark Vierthaler of Whiskey Del Bac. We had a great time with him. We said we'll record the segments with Mark, and then we will later record the intro and everything else. And turned out we had plenty to work with Mark's interview and just having him on. That we're not going to have an intro for the most part. Besides this right here, this is a very different episode than what you're used to. If this is your first time checking out Chill Filtered, Robbie and I had a great time talking with Mark, and so we skipped intro, whiskey world news, what whiskey to choose, all the above. We just had a great time with Mark. So hope you guys enjoy. We're going to pick up from where we basically bring in Mark. So here we go to that. And we're back from break, and I'm really excited. It's funny, we're recording this first, and maybe you'll be able to understand that after the continuity of
I have a feeling when we get to the beginning of the episode and we've already sipped our way through our entry buzz and another 2 ounces, it'll show up in the...
Yeah, exactly. People will understand that we are less liquored up now than we will be, or than we had been in the entry or the intro. But anyway, without further ado, we're bringing in Mark Vierthaler, and I'll bring him in because that's important. But Mark, how you doing today?
Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thank you guys so much for having me on. It's an honor. It really is.
The honor is ours. People know we're fanboys of Whiskey Del Bac, absolutely. So
appreciate that.
So you've been on. So the funny thing is, we've done an interview episode with Whiskey Del Bac before, where we had Stephen Paul and Veronica Townsend on, and it sounds like Veronica's moved on, and that's cool. But it sounds like Mark is in the driver's seat of the distillation process at Whiskey Del Bac. So it's been a few years now, right?
So we're actually coming up on 2 years.
Nice.
Yeah. So this month will be 19 months since I took the reins as head distiller. So
that's right around when my daughter was born.
Oh, well, good. It's a celebratory time all around then.
Exactly.
So
Mark, because go ahead,
less
than 2 years, you always count by months. So
right
in any situation. So that's cool.
I don't know. It's kind of weird. You say 1.5, man. Mark says it's coming up on 2. That's not months, Cole. Like, you just gotta let that go, man. Your baby's a toddler, man. So Mark. Go ahead, Robbie. Mark, you mentioned that this is your 5th distillery that you've distilled at?
Third distillery.
Okay, so where were you previously?
So my first distillery, I helped open Boot Hill Distilling in Dodge City, Kansas, which is my hometown.
Okay. Are you a Jayhawk then, or
I am Bachelor of Science in Journalism from KU.
Oh, nice.
That's why you know good words.
That's why I'm purdy with my words. I helped them open that back in 2016 and was the director of marketing and distiller there for 3 years. And then I left Boot Hill to take over the reins at 10th Ward Distilling Company out in Frederick, Maryland. And I was there for 3 years, and then left Frederick to come down here to Tucson to take over as head distiller at Whiskey Del Bac.
Okay. So how'd that happen? Like, how'd that process going from the East Coast to the Southwest?
It's kind of funny. So I was doing some consulting gigs. I had moved on from the distillery and was just kind of looking for a new experience, and had picked up some consulting things and was doing some training with some distillers. And, at Boot Hill, I helped run the tasting room, which was a full cocktail bar. And so kind of a lot of the training was focused around, hey, here's how you can open a tasting room, and here's good ways to create experiences for people as they come in. And so I was doing some of that consulting work, and a very dear friend of mine and one of my mentors, Maggie Campbell. If you don't know who Maggie is, she used to be she was the head distiller at Privateer Rum for quite a while. Okay. She's now the estate manager at Mount Gay Rum.
Nice.
Yeah. But she was actually doing some consulting with Whiskey Del Bac. So Veronica had moved back to the East Coast, ironically, to be closer to family. And Whiskey Del Bac was looking for a head distiller, and Maggie was doing some consulting. And so I got a text from her one day, and she was like, hey, I know you're kind of interested in not doing the consulting thing and getting back into the day-to-day distilling. Have you ever considered the Southwest? And I said, I can't say I ever have, but I haven't not considered it. And she's like, what about whiskey? Do you want to make whiskey? And I was like, I think I know the distillery you're talking about. Because even back in Maryland, I had heard of Whiskey Del Bac and heard very good things.
So this is about 2021?
Yeah. So this would have been beginning of 2021. And yeah, so she's like, well, if you're comfortable with it, I will introduce you to Stephen, our co-founder, and Kent, who is our CEO. And I was like, yeah, please do. Yeah. Seriously, we just opened up the lines of communication, and I started interviewing for the position, and took over here in July of 2021.
Nice.
Remind me of the name of the Kansas distillery again.
Boot Hill Distillery.
So what did you distill there?
A little bit of everything.
Oh, cool. Nice.
So Boot Hill was cool, and they're still going strong. They're still just knocking out great product. They got started because of three farmers. So there were three farmers in Southwest Kansas who basically were like, we're tired of selling our grain to on the commodity market. We want to be able to do something else with it. And kind of the thought process there is you have two options. You start a cattle feeding operation, or you start a distillery.
Which is like, that's awesome, because it's like foundations of excess crops and distilling. Exactly. That's really cool.
Yeah. And so I had spent 7 years in public relations and marketing
nice.
For an agricultural company back in Dodge, and wasn't happy doing that. It was, I enjoyed it for the most part, but there wasn't a lot of job satisfaction. And yeah, so they reached out and they were like, hey, do you have any interest in coming on? And I was like, oh my God, yes, please. That's sweet. So we made a little bit of everything. They started Boot Hill with the idea of it being a whiskey distillery. Like that was kind of we want to make
bourbon. Makes sense with grain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like a lot of craft distilleries that are starting up, you've got to figure it's going to take a while to get the aged spirit. And so, so when I got brought on, we just started playing around with recipes. And so the first product that we made was a vodka. It was a 100% wheat vodka, grown on their farms. After that came the whiskey, which we started laying down on oak, and we had a couple of young releases. We had what was our white whiskey, which is still sold, which was aged about a week to a month.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then our red eye whiskey, which red eye was an old West term for pretty much any sort of whiskey. And that was kind of a younger bourbon, essentially. And then I left before the straight bourbon came out. And so now they're doing a straight bourbon, a straight wheat whiskey. One of the two of the things I was probably most proud of that I got to make there, though, was the gin. Cool. The gin won a bunch of awards and was, you can ask my wife. My wife's a gin drinker. I went through, I think, 14 or 15 recipes before she was like, yeah, that's the good one.
Okay. So Cole and I both we love mixology. We love the idea. Cole, for 1 year for Christmas, Cole got us a bottle of vodka and a bunch of botanicals to a steep. So what was your gin recipe? How was it? Was it more of a London Dry, an American? What'd you have?
It was more of a new American style.
Nice.
One of the things that I will admit, I like a really punchy London Dry. I like a lot of juniper.
Yep.
Some
he does.
people,
Robbie
does.
Some
people
my daughter's named Juniper. I love the Juniper.
We tried to get his other daughter to be named Rye.
Oh,
like, boozy girls. Yeah, the twins too. So, but go on.
Meet Juniper and Bruchladik.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was a little.
And my
lighter.
son fighting cock.
Yeah.
What was I thinking?
That's not whiskey related though. That's a whole other story.
It has nothing to do with that. It's funny.
So yeah, it was a little lighter on the juniper. A little bit of lavender. Really, what set us apart though was we used sarsaparilla in it.
Oh,
yeah. So Dodge City, Old West Town.
Oh, totally.
And that
Root
was
beery.
Like exactly. That was kind of what we wanted. Was like we want something that is going to be very of Dodge City, and so there's a little bit of sarsaparilla in that gin, and it adds this little kind of root beery, earthy note to it.
Great in a gin. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
You right there, cool?
Sorry guys, my audio is screwing up.
Well, Cole's fixing his audio. I got a question. So Cole and I
we're
lucky enough to get onto Matt Madness this year.
Yeah.
And I've got we're doing a YouTube thing, so that kind of helped us qualify for that. I've got a face for podcasts and I've got a hairline for hats. And on Matt Madness, we are like Del Bac fanboys. So I've been wearing I've been wearing my Del Bac shirt.
Hey,
now, here's the problem, though. Where the camera's at, you can't necessarily see my shirt, but you could see my hat. And on your merchandise, you only have dad hats. And I'm not a fan of that.
I know.
Will there be a 5-panel or something coming out soon? Because I got to represent, and you guys are
marketing. So,
we had one. We had a 5 that was striking. It's in my closet in the bedroom, and when I wear it out, I still get people going, "Why can't I get that one anymore?"
That's what I'm saying. Why can't we get that? That's what I was looking for, because the hat shows up.
I'll pass it along to marketing. Jenny, who's our head of marketing, she's brilliant. Right. Yeah, I'm always like, I'm sure she hates me because I'm always like, hey, have we ever considered this for merch? Because I think this would be really good merch.
You do have good merch. Like I love like you go to your merchandise section on the webpage and it is the dog toy like featured on it, which is awesome. And Cole's got his stickers.
I haven't figured out where to stick these yet.
That's
but
the thing is it's hard to figure out where to put them. Yeah, no. Yeah. And I will say this too. Maybe you heard about Whiskey Del Bac from our podcast because we were one of the first. Like if you go look at podcasts, we were the first podcast to have Whiskey Del Bac.
Nice.
And we friggin' love you guys. It's good stuff.
And I would 100% believe it. It's one of those things like trying to track down where you first heard of it. Like it at some point had crossed either looking at social media, listening, because I'm a obsessive consumer of podcasts, and I'm sure it came across somewhere, and I was like, oh, okay. One, American single malt, like so few people were doing it. Two, just leaning into the Southwest. I know there are some people who bristle at terroir in whiskey, but
I like
if you distill with an idea of a love letter of the place where it's from, it has terroir. And it's one of the reasons I was attracted to Del Bac was, had heard great things. I was able to track down a couple of bottles in Maryland, bring them back, taste on them. I'm like, okay, I love what they're doing. And then I met Kent and Steven and just fell in love with them. I mean, like,
that's great.
You can't not like Steven is one of the most genuine human beings you will ever meet.
Absolutely.
And Kent is so damn savvy. And I've worked for some unpleasant CEOs in the past, and Kent's excellent. Kent cares. He really does, which is, I think, unique sometimes in a CEO. So,
awesome. I think like we'll reach out and we'll talk to people from different distilleries, and I will say Kent is very responsive. The only person that I think is on that same level is Fawn Weaver from
Uncle Nearest. Yeah.
Yes. She's great too. Like just folks like that where they actually like you reach out and they reach back and touch you.
Yeah, exactly.
So I got a question, Mark. So I guess we're talking about your resume in a lot of ways, but we all know, and those who've listened know that we love Whiskey Del Bac, and we'll talk more about that. But I'm curious, we talked before, at least through the emails and stuff like that, and I've seen your Instagram, and you come across to me as a very educated man, which is pretty cool. Like you use good words and stuff, and
all the best words.
Yeah, and it's not even a there's probably a really good word for this. It's not even a conceited or not conceited. Maybe conceited is the word. It doesn't seem like that at all.
Is it more eloquent?
But why? So you got your degree in journalism.
Mm-hmm.
You worked in marketing and stuff like that for a little bit. When, like, two questions. When did whiskey make a when were you blown away by whiskey that you're like, I love whiskey? And then when were you blown away by whiskey so much that you're like, I want to make whiskey? So two parts.
So it's one of those, it's a question I get asked a lot, especially in terms of like, if you're giving advice on someone who wants to get into the industry, what advice do you give them? It's a terrible question for me to answer because it's very roundabout, and it's not like I set out to do this and this is what I was going to do. And I fell into it like a lot of us in distilling. So when I graduated from KU,
I only fell into alcohol.
Oh yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I missed the hole for distilling and I fell into alcoholism.
I just, I graduated KU. I was an investigative reporter. And around 2007, 2008, there wasn't a lot of demand for that.
Totally.
Investigative reporters piss off advertisers. They just tend to rub people the wrong way. And so moved back to my hometown of Dodge City. Actually was the managing editor of the paper there for just about a year.
That's impressive.
Cool.
It just completely killed me, though. I mean, I was working from 7 a.m. to 2 a.m, almost 7 days a week. It was.
Yeah,
I had just gotten.
That's
married.
how we are on this podcast.
Yeah,
yeah, we totally work real hard.
But yeah, I had just gotten married. I had a young stepson, and I felt awful that I wasn't around, and so I did what a lot of journalists do. I got into PR and marketing. There was a big agricultural company that was in my hometown that I took over as their director of communications. But my wife and I have always been really big foodies. We bonded over cooking for each other. We bonded over cocktails. And this was around the time. So this was been 2008, 2009. So the cocktail renaissance is finally making its way from the coasts into the Midwest.
Totally.
In 35,000 people, Dodge City, Kansas, you're starting to hear of craft cocktails and craft spirits. And around the same time, I'm like, well, I've left journalism. I want to keep writing. It'd be fun to write about booze.
Nice.
And so I started doing freelance writing on the side about craft cocktails and craft spirits. And about a year after I started doing that, the live theater that my wife and I actually met at, they were like, we're going to open a bar. And I asked, like, do you mind if I take the helm of it? And they were like, oh God, yes, please. Just
nice.
Somebody's got to.
Exactly. And so for, oh my God, 5-6 years, my wife and I headed up that bar program. And we focused on bringing in craft spirits. We focused on trying to elevate the drinking patterns of people in Dodge. And so we're doing this at the same time that I'm doing PR and marketing in the agricultural world.
Oh, wow. Still doing that.
And so, obviously the deeper you get into that, you start to meet people, you start to know people. And to me, I just got more and more obsessed with the idea on the cocktail side of the more control I can have, the better, maybe not better, but potentially better I can make those cocktails. Like if I'm in control of the syrups and if I'm making their own bitters. And so when this opportunity at Boot Hill came up, it kind of just, to me, was like, one, again, I don't have a lot of job satisfaction with what I'm doing. And two, you can't get much more granular than making the spirits themselves.
Totally.
And so when I got hired, it was about a 50-50 split of 50% of my time I was in the still room, learning how to distill, making the spirits, and 50% was on marketing. And there was just something about it that clicked. I think it was probably the first time that we sold a bottle. And to stand there and like this literal blood, sweat, and tears that we've been putting months and months and not in the product, adjacent to the product.
Yeah, stayed out of the bottle.
Except for my unique blood whiskey. No. But yeah,
just enough sugar.
No, it was just, there was something about, you put all this effort into it and you put all this love and care into it, and to see someone enjoy it. And then to me, like one of the ultimate compliments is that someone was willing to pay for it. That like someone was like, oh, this bottle of vodka is $35. Yeah, here, 100%. And
that's the best.
And it just, the more I got involved with it, the more I enjoyed it. And the more I got involved with it and enjoyed it, the more I realized what I didn't know. And one of the things that I also fell in love with the craft distilling industry is PR and marketing is cutthroat. It is for better or for worse, survival of the fittest. And you don't get a lot of that in craft distilling. You have some outliers that are unpleasant to work with and are standoffish. But as a whole, the industry is so supportive. And I'm talking to these other distillers and I'm panicking multiple times because I've never done this. And I'm like, why is this doing this? And I'm having distillers coming back to me going, oh, well, yeah, we had this issue. Here's what you did. Here's how we fixed it. Boom, boom, boom. You've got it done. And it was this marriage of science and art, and the people within the industry was just like, this is what I want to do the rest of my life.
Yeah. Nice. Oh, that's awesome. I love that. And now, heck, you're head distiller of like our pretty much favorite single malt in the country. Like, yeah, that's awesome.
And that was a huge honor. Like, that was when I got the job offer, it was like, oh my God, like this is such a huge honor. And I inherited such an amazing distilling team too. Like, that's like, as head distiller, we tend to be a little more public facing. We tend to be the one that get a lot of the accolades, but unfortunately we're down to a distilling staff of 3 of us now, but there were 4 of us for a while. And, it's every single one of us.
Where can I find an application?
Yeah, seriously. Is Dustin still there?
Dustin is still here. Dustin's still my lead distiller. Yeah. He's
I love it.
Amazing. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Nice. Give him a pound for us while you're out there.
I definitely will.
That's cool.
Yeah, I would.
Cool. Do you have any other good questions? Because I have one good question.
No, bring on your good question. That was my good question.
So I'm ready to start drinking this because I love.
So tell us about Ode to Islay as much as you can.
Well, hold on. I have one more question before that, Cole. Jeez,
but mine wasn't a question. Mine was a command.
All right. So on your left arm, what is that
alcohol?
That's ethanol.
Nice. That's right.
Nice.
Yeah,
okay.
That's my nerdy distiller's tattoo. The running joke is in case I forget what I'm supposed to be doing for the day. Oh, right. We're making booze.
Oh, that's funny. You have a nerdy tattoo on your arm, and my only visible tattoo is super nerdy. Mine's math because I'm an actuary. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that. Yeah.
That's funny. Right. And you got something on the other arm too, please. While the YouTube listeners are the YouTube viewers.
There we go.
Oh, cool. So that's pretty fresh looking.
So this one is about 4 months old.
Yeah, it looks nice. Yeah.
Like a skeleton in a.
Did you get it in Tucson?
Sombrero?
I did. Yeah. So it's just a cyborg vaquero skeleton.
Hey.
Yeah, I got that on my gut, but it's a little out of shape, so I won't show.
Yeah, I got my cyborg.
Can we drink this now? Can we go?
Let's drink. But please, Mark. It sounds like there were some changes from the distiller's cut to the Ode to Islay and the other two, the Frontera or something like that.
Frontera and Normandy. Yeah.
Normandy, that's right. Mm-hmm.
So the Frontera, which we actually just bottled today as of this recording.
Ooh.
Yeah. That is our classics or unsmoked single malt finished in Pedro Jimenez sherry botas.
Ooh, PX, baby.
Yes.
And
then that comes out end of this month, March. So that comes out every March and April. The Normandy is our classic finished in Calvados barrels.
Okay.
That comes out every August. But then what we are drinking, the Ode to Islay, this is actually born out of our winter release.
Okay.
So since you guys are long-term fans, you know the winter release was our Dorado, which is our mesquited, not peated single malt.
And it's so friggin' good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. It's what brought me to the distillery, was just that.
That's awesome.
It was beautiful. But over the years, we've reduced the smokiness, just kind of the demands of the industry. But winter release came about as a way to kind of harken back to the original Dorado, like what Stephen's original idea was, which is this very aggressive, very smoky, but not unpleasant, not overdone. So that's last year was winter release when we created this, what we call our global cask collection. Excuse me.
Nice.
That was the Frontera, the Normandy, and then the Ode to Islay, because all of three of them have influences from European styles of distilling.
Nice. I feel free to pour some for yourself if you haven't. Oh, you already did. The first time I ever had Del Bac it was given to me as a gift, and I was living in Phoenix at the time, and I had never seen the bottle before. But when you're given a gift, you're like, what the heck, like I'll just see what it tastes like. I don't know. This is gonna sound weird. The bottle for me that was like, holy crap, I'm a whiskey guy, was Eagle Rare 17 2015. I enjoyed whiskey before that, but I wasn't holy crap, I'm a whiskey guy until I had that. The same kind of reaction I had to that pour is what I had to Dorado in like a few years. It was like 2019 I think is when I got it, or maybe mid 2020 or something like that. But
I think it was 2020.
It had to be 2020 because it was end of 2020.
2019. Because I came on 2020, and then
that's right.
So on our show, we have a category for whiskey or a note or this or that where we call it Hubba to What, and Del Bac was the Hubba to What of Hubba to What's, because Cole hates small barrel finishing.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like I used to be such a critic of 22 or so gallon barrels. I'm like, it's never good. And then I was like humbled. When I showed up to.
Well, that's the thing, is like
Whiskey
we've
Del
had
Bac.
a lot of like localized, smaller craft distillers where you're like, okay, yeah, we'll see what do they do, what comes of it, right?
Yeah.
And the Dorado we had, we were both like, oh my gosh, Hubbard of what? This is not what I expected.
So few distilleries know how to use the small format barrel, and I will beat that drum. And we use small format at Boot Hill, we use small format at 10th Ward. Another reason I fell in love with Del Bac is like they know how to do it,
and they nailed
it. And they nailed it. And Stephen and Nathan, the original head distiller, they figured it out.
It's so funny too, because I used to be like, no, I probably will never enjoy a whiskey, and I was just floored. And then it tasted like a teen year Islay to me, and it was like less than 2 years old. And I was like, holy crap, how are they doing this? So I remember thinking this is on the tier of Dorado, which is like what, $40-$45 or something like that.
Well, it's up to 60 now, but
maybe it was that to begin with, but it was like Ardbeg core reckon status to me, which is like $120, like probably in the teens Islay, if I were to guess, age wise. And I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. So anyway, so nose notes, Robbie, any nose notes you're getting?
Nose, when I first opened the bottle, it was very present, like just a good smokiness, but it's that mesquite, which is super neat. I like it's, which I we said it before, I'll say it again, is very approachable if you like barbecue chips, right? Like this just hits on a level where you're like, oh, okay, this is approachable. Whereas like you get a typical Islay and you're like, okay, it smells like cigarettes. It's like that kind of smoke. All right, so this is very approachable on the nose. On the palate, though, I do get like there's a spiciness there, and then the smoke lingers for a little while, like a long while. Like this just draws out. It is so like pleasantly smoky in the mesquite way. But there's also like the ABV on it hits really nice. It gets hot for a while and it just lingers. Like this is a good sit with your friends. We're just going over it's been a heck of a week and we're just chilling, and you take a sip and you can just sit. I love it. So far it's great. I love it.
I appreciate that. Yeah, and it's interesting. The 110, so it's 55% ABV. Cool. I actually use this bottle as an argument because if you can believe it, I also have strong opinions about things. There are some people I meet that are like, oh man, it has to be cask strength or nothing. And I'm like, well, you're missing out on so many amazing things then.
Totally.
Because cask strength on this is almost undrinkable.
Wow.
It is so hot. The astringency of the mesquite is so present on the front and mid palate. But you proof it down to 100, it's watery. You lose that nuance. You lose that. This, to me, is a good argument of thoughtful proofing. Because we did, Dustin and I and the other distillers, Abby and Raymond, we sat down and we proofed about 4 different versions.
Nice.
And we were like, which one has this progression that we want? And the 110 was it. It was that 55%, because you're right. You get that heat, you get that bloom that comes across.
Yep, absolutely.
But you have that sweet honey of the mesquite that just hangs out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not getting a ton of like a honey note, like a sweetness, but
I'm right on the finish.
Okay.
It's beautiful.
I'm getting like a leathery tobacco kind of like finish that just like, that's where I'm at, where it's just there and it lingers and it stays. No, this is so one of the things that I love about a whiskey is when it's complex and you get this, you
absolutely.
get that. It's all over the place. And this is where it's at, and it just lingers for friggin' ever, man. It's so good. It's good.
This
okay. I appreciate that a lot.
I loved 2020 fall. It was a smokier. It was like the tequila finish.
I'm pretty sure that was the tequila barrel. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it was fantastic. And I loved. There's a Total Wine barrel pick that I have. That's a Dorado pick, and it's even better than the Dorado. And I love the Dorado. I'm not just saying this because our listeners know we try to be just pretty.
Minus one
objective.
Episode where we were sponsored
when
by
Robbie
Bespoken.
screwed it up. But this is the best release yet I've had from Del Bac.
I will say this. Go ahead. No, you.
No, yeah. Let me just say the bloom you were talking about is almost to the point of mouthfeel mesquite. Like you can feel the smokiness, but it's not overwhelming. It's like there's like, it's hard for me to describe, but I could probably show it on. There's ups and downs of this whiskey, and they're all good, but there's like moments where the mesquite is perfect, and it is so well balanced.
Thank you.
With the sweetness.
Idea that we have with this, and that when we were talking within the distillery, is to me the Ode to Islay, formerly Winter, is how close can we get to unpleasant? But not crossover. Like
I have that same theory with my wife.
Oh man.
But yeah, just you want it aggressive, but you don't want it unpleasant. And that means a lot to hear that, because that was the goal, was how dangerously can we tread to that line?
Yeah, and this is, I think the transitions say the most about this whiskey to me, where it goes from sweet to immediate mesquite, where there's that smokiness, and then the smokiness fades to not only honey, but like a good honey, like Manuka honey style, like good honey.
The heck is Manuka honey?
It's like New Zealandy, and it's from a certain flower, and it's like high quality, like spend a lot of money type honey.
So Mark, I don't want to offend you here. Adding some water, like I added 2 drops to like just a little bit of whiskey or water.
Mm-hmm.
The nose to me gets that sweet kind of like honeyness to it. It's definitely sweeter. It gets sweeter and mosquito with 1 drop. And I do like it. I mean, I don't want to tell you how to do your job. I like it a little bit.
You should have gone 105.
109.
Yeah,
109.995.
Just that 1/10 of a percent of ABV. No.
So here's the thing is I think the best whiskeys so we always do like water, we do neat, water, and then iced, and the best whiskeys hold up on each level. Now we still have ice to go. We'll see how it turns out.
So, and I may be showing my hand, and like it's going to derail, and you guys are going to be like, "What is this hot garbage?" The recommendation on the back of the label is with 1 large ice cube.
Okay,
that is my personal recommendation.
Large ice cube
for that reason.
Okay.
So yeah, so right. I hope I don't ruin it. And you guys are like,
no, man, like you're the prophet here. Look at your cedar stones. That's great.
On the water pour, I agree. It was even better. It was
better in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was more honey forward on this one. The mesquite was kind of behind the honey for me, but it was like, holy crap! Like right from the get go. This is a hub of what, and I honestly, like, our listeners know we're pretty honest people. But like this, I'm not just saying this because you're here, Mark. This is my favorite Del Bac yet.
Thank you. And as I think I stalked you guys on your Instagram and YouTube and commented, genuinely, and that was a tough lesson to learn. Harsh feedback is always appreciated.
Oh yeah, none on this. I'll tell you what, man. Because I have no harsh feedback from Del Bac yet, but I will let you know.
Because
I would say no.
It was tough because like when you would have people criticize, it was this kind of. I always used to say, "Hey, here's my heart and soul. Yeah, everything that is me, I put into it. Please tell me how terrible it is."
Yeah.
But as I've gotten older, and I think I hope a little more mature, is that realization of I have my own biases.
Yeah.
And if it sucks, someone's got to tell me, because if it sucks, it's not going to sell. Totally. And I don't have a job.
Yeah, exactly. And if you just go with what you feel, it's like no one else agrees with you. Yeah.
Right.
All right. So I dropped a cube here.
Great nose.
Nose is still good.
Different.
Usually ice kills stuff.
Yeah.
This, it didn't kill it. It's still sweet. It's like it's not like super intense sweetness, but it's very much like a sunset or sunrise kind of sweetness where it's just like it's the sun's coming up, the sun's going down, and there's that glow. So it's got a glow of sweetness to it for sure on the nose. Didn't kill it. Get the mesquite there too.
I'm already starting to think of my rating for this, and I haven't even sipped the ice yet. But is it good? Yeah, it's recommended. It said literally on the bottle. It says our recommendation is to serve with 1 large ice cube. I did a small ice cube.
This is so with ice for me.
Busted into my freezer.
Oh, it's a huge
very
cube.
Large.
Yeah, that's a big cube. So that's what I always do. Is like my shtick. I pause it and I like chew an ice cube down to the correct size.
What the heck? I gotta interrupt you guys. This is a great whiskey. Sorry, Robbie. Go on.
No, it's like this is the most palatable, easy sipping of the 3. So I'm like, this is a hub of what whiskey where you can like, and like, we're not just saying this because you're on it. We friggin' love Del Bac. Nothing on Del Bac has ever disappointed. Like I went to a bar though, and I was
we got Old Pueblo.
Yeah, we were in Arizona.
OP.
Middle of January, and my wife, like, we were with friends, and she's like, "No, we can't go to Del Bac. That's like a 3-hour trip, round trip. Plus, so then we went to a bar that Cole recommended, and I got Old Pueblo. And I'm like, "Excuse me, I ordered a whiskey."
There's no color on this one.
And she's like, "Yeah, that's what we poured you, you drunk." And I was like, I drank it. It was great. Everything is so good. This is like all three phases. Like, no matter how somebody likes to drink a whiskey, if you like scotches, you like that smokiness, this is something you gotta try for sure. Like, everything hits on a great level. I'm ignoring my kids are getting off the bus right now, and I am still loving this. Like, I told Cole, I was like, Cole, at 4:00, I gotta go. I'm gonna trust him because Daddy's drinking.
Yeah, trust the kids. Dad's drinking.
So good.
So
thank you.
Here's what blows my mind about this one, and I'm glad to have you on for this segment or this whole episode, because I hope it encourages you to keep this up. Like, my thought is, I don't know if you, let alone anyone, could keep this up next year. It's that good.
I will be honest. That Whiskey Wash review posted 5 out of 5.
Please, tell us about that.
This gushing review, we had someone come in and like, oh my God, I've already drank through both of my bottles. Where can I find it? Oh, I'm so scared right now.
I would be freaked out. Like, what if I never in my whole career keep up with this?
If all you do is this, if you can replicate everything about this, you're set. It's so good.
It is so well balanced. So that's what I really love about every pour. Oh, go ahead.
Single malt, right?
Yeah.
It is, but it has like spicy, like rye spiciness. It's got bourbon sweetness. It's
honey.
Obviously, it's got like scotchiness to it, where it's got the smokiness. It's a friggin' jack of all trades, man. Like, it hits everything so perfectly, and nothing is out of place. It's so good.
That's exactly right. It is so, nothing's out of place. Like, it is the perfect amount of sweet, the perfect amount of smoke, the perfect amount of just.
No matter how you want to drink it. No matter how you want to drink it. Like,
exactly.
If you're a meat guy, you're a water guy, you're an ice guy. Like,
I cannot say that about like Ardbeg or Lafroig.
So this, in my opinion, rivals like high-end Yamazaki 18 kind of stuff, where it's like you can put anything with this and it's good.
So I gotta look that up.
My God.
Whiskey Wash, Ode to Islay.
Oh, I can shoot it on Instagram if you.
Oh, you did? You got it? Yeah, please. I would love for you to read it, and hopefully not. Okay. If you can read it, just read it, because we agree so far.
A lot of it.
You sent it to me. I'll read it.
Yeah. A lot of it is just history of the company, which is always good. Like, it's good to always have history, but yeah.
But there's like a review at the end.
Yeah,
I imagine. Yeah. So I'll read this real quick, and this is from the Whiskey Wash. And who wrote this, or who read? Jerry Janae Sampson, just so we give her credit. On the nose, or the appearance, full bodies, long legs, rich amber color. Nose, the mesquite is instantly recognizable, along with leather. Actually, I'm going to skip to the summary.
Oh, I said leather. Look at me.
Yeah.
Oh, leather's good. But yeah, let's get to the summary, where she says, I appreciate the different viewpoint of Whiskey Del Bac Ode to Islay. I can recognize the reverence to peated Scotch while appreciating the desire to carve a path for themselves in the American single malt community. I believe the best way to innovate and create is to borrow from the past while creating something wholly forward-thinking. And I believe that with this expression, Whiskey Del Bac shows great promise as a long-lasting brand. My biggest lament... Oh, wait, I guess... So maybe this isn't the one I was thinking of, but she says, my biggest lament is that I will soon be finished with the bottle and will likely not have another anytime soon.
So the second paragraph down.
Okay.
This is what, again, from the top. This is what, as I just sent me like giddily sharing it with the distillers and like, guys. So it's classic but modern. unique but familiar. And I'm happy to say that the annual limited release Whiskey Del Bac Ode to Islay is one of the best whiskeys I've ever tasted.
Yo. And so, Mark, did you have a hand in every bit of this one?
So no, I can't say that.
Okay.
You know, this was a blend of, we actually had a distiller's cut from 2019 that never got released.
Okay.
And it had been sitting there, and we've been thinking of ways we could use it. And, you know, we weren't at the point, like, tasting it, we're like, this isn't what I think we wanted. And so we had this particular distiller's cut that had been finished in a mix of tequila and bourbon barrels and then blended.
Okay.
And again, it just wasn't like there by itself. And then that was only a little bit of this, but then
was this the one I was talking about, like similar to the one, or was it different?
No, it was different. This one never got released.
I got you.
So this one never came out. So we had this particular finishing, these two finishing casks.
Yeah.
That we, you know, I would say we're probably distilled in 2018. And they were in glass, so you know, we're not getting a lot of extraction. Aging,
Mm-hmm.
And then it was a mix of some of the stuff that I've been able to make since I've been there, and a little bit of stuff that Veronica made. So this is actually a blend and a particular mix of 3 different head distillers products.
Wow, that's funny.
Yeah.
So that makes it even more scary that you might be able to replicate this.
Oh yeah,
or outdo it. Yeah,
you're asking for everybody's notes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mark, and then, you know, I would personally, you might not agree, but I would personally say the hardest job, and I'm not a distiller, so I wouldn't know, but I would imagine the hardest job of distilling is concocting the final blend and final product. Everything else is slow work that you can expect time to make the most impact on. If you take, you know, this blend and put it together and proof it just right, which I imagine is not even as easy as I just said.
I've had hand sanitizer in oak barrel for the last 5 years, and it sucks.
Yeah.
It's something, unfortunately, I don't think gets a lot of attention within the industry. And this is, as someone who has head distiller in their title, you know, blending is just as, if not more important. And it has to all marry. You have to start with good juice. Like, you can't, I mean, you can't.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly. But I've tasted people's stuff that the juice was good going into the barrel, but they didn't put any thought into how they blended it. And it came across as unbalanced, came across as conflicting. And so, like, it's one of the things that I love teaching people and teaching other distillers is your job isn't done once we pull it out of the barrel.
Yeah.
We now have to think about how all of these interact.
Totally.
So
is that like the hardest part of your job, you'd say, or like the most weight on your shoulders part of your job?
Some days.
Yeah, I believe
it depends. I mean, 90% of the time, that is, I think, what we probably spend the longest, probably the heaviest load of thought goes into the blending. Of we sensory every single barrel before it gets blended. We do tasting notes. We will say, yeah, this one's good, or, you know, these have 2 conflicting, but if they come together, they're going to marry and create something really nice. A lot of, and I say this when there's always things that go wrong, always challenges you face, but distilling is kind of factory work. You're making the same mash every day. You're distilling it out the same way every day. Now we're still putting thoughts into how we make the cuts. We're still making thoughts into what, you know, proof we go into the barrel, but it is that, okay, we've done all of this hard work. Everything's happened. Now we need to be thinking of what it is going to taste like in the bottle.
Yeah.
And that's always, at least to me, one of the highest points of anxiety is,
absolutely.
Yeah, we can have the same tasting new make time after time after time after time.
Yeah.
But once it gets into the barrels, the first distillery I was at, our director of operations, Ron, he would always say, whiskey making is 75% science, 25% magic.
Uh-huh.
And part of the magic is the barrel. Like, we know why it happens. We know what happens. We can track the extractions of sugars.
Yeah.
But there's so much variation.
Yeah.
That
we got some
that's where you
girls yelling in the back. But all right.
So I would think it's more of like 70%, 75% like the mash distilling thing. 20% the magic, and 5% being able to find the bunghole. Like, that sounds tricky to me. Do you get nervous?
Formula.
Oh no, sorry. Okay.
Mark, this is I'm gonna rate this myself, and hopefully Robbie will be back soon. But Robbie had to take care of some yelling children. But I'll give you a idea, Mark, of my general rating. 9+ we usually say is like hubba to what great. Like, it's surprising, it is delicious. And 8+ is like, I enjoy this. 8 to 9 is like, I enjoy this. I think they're doing a great thing. And like, for me, like 7 and below is like, I wouldn't buy it again. And I have a weird, like, there's a logarithmic scale probably going on here, where it's like everything is like really, like, if it's good, it's between 8 and 10 easily. Mm-hmm. I think the highest score I've ever given on the podcast is a 9.7. Because I always think maybe this will be outdone. I dare say, I know my score, but I dare say this might be potentially the best single malt I've ever had. And I give it a 9.65.
Okay.
There's some that have outdone it. Don't get me wrong, in the American world, and especially bourbon rye. But I do believe this is, as far as I can tell, this is the perfect single malt to me. Like, this is perfectly balanced. And I, like I said, I'm not gonna take it back next week and be like, because Mark was on, we really gave it a score of an 8.1.
This is not Bespoken Spirits where Robbie screws everything
with Robbie,
up.
yeah. But I think this is, honestly, you got your work cut out for you to outdo this. I really mean that, and that's my worst or my harshest critique of you, Mark. Outdo this, and you will get a 10, probably. So that's what I got. I think a 9.65.
It's the goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Rating wise,
towards it.
Yeah, I'm giving this a 9.8. This is a nice jack of all trades. Like, there's nothing not to love about this. Like, if you don't like whiskeys in general, this would still be a good introductory to whiskey. Where it's just
absolutely
put it with some water it down.
Ice,
If it was easy to find, like, you could even make a good cocktail out of this, right? Not easy to find. Mark, work on that. Get your distributing up.
Hey,
I don't get Del Bac in Idaho. I don't get Del Bac in Idaho, and it friggin' kills me.
We don't get it in Virginia. I pulled a move to get it out here.
So, and my brother's in Virginia, so he has to pull moves to get it too. So
perfect.
Yeah.
But this is like, it's got a lot of good bourbony kind of notes where, like, if you're a bourbon drinker, you'll like it. If you like rye, you're gonna like it. If you like scotches, you're gonna like it.
Oh,
absolutely.
If
you like Irishes, maybe not for you. But that's like
if you're like sold on just Irishes, maybe not this.
Yeah,
unless you're in a Connemara.
Yeah. But like this, I honestly say it, and I mean it. This rivals like a Yamazaki 18, where you're like, this is so good in every facet.
Complex,
of being able to drink it. It's complex. It's got such great notes. Like, so, yeah, go 9.8.
This is like a hubba to what when we expected hubba to what.
We did, and then that doesn't happen. Like, hubba to what's usually like.
I wasn't expecting much from this.
Yeah,
so this was good. Like, but this was like, I was expecting much, and this was real good.
Yeah, for sure.
I always say it feels very rote, and it feels very just it played out, but that's genuinely what makes it worth it. Like, we tend to live in our little bubble as distillers, as we know what we like, you know, we're putting our heart and soul into it, and God, I hope people like it when it goes out.
I mean,
that. And again,
go ahead.
I can't take credit for this 100%. Like, this is not the Mark A. Vierthaler show. This is me. This is Dustin. This is Abby. This is Raymond. This is Veronica. This is Nathan. This is Steven. You know, this is built upon built upon built. And so, but that's amazing. That
you guys nailed the amalgamation of everybody, because this is so good.
So good. And that's my hope for next year. but like, here's the thing: is like, heck, I can assure you, Mark, you're probably not going to outdo yourself every year. You know this.
I'll take consistency.
Like, if you can keep up with this,
exactly.
But like, I know I probably can't get another bottle of this, and I have mostly full bottle at this point. This is gonna last me years now because
mine's gone. I got 2 ounces.
This is like my empty bottle of Eagle Rare 17 2015, where it's like it took over probably 2 years to finish it, because I only shared it with the people that were like, oh, so you really like whiskey, and you're a really good friend of mine, and you're gonna enjoy this, not only whiskey, but this moment. This is that kind of whiskey. This is like special people, special occasion whiskey for me. So
absolutely,
seriously, thank you guys.
All
that's amazing.
Like,
I'm
it up, man.
I'm getting choked up. My wife's gonna have to talk my ego down now.
No, I feel ya. Well, Mark, we appreciate you. What rating would you give this, Mark?
I mean, so this is why I was always a terrible reviewer. Is the part of me goes, and especially with my own juice, I see what was done well, and I see what I feel could be done better.
I hear you.
I would give this a 9. When we tasted it, you know, it's that balance of be humble enough to know that you're human, you make mistakes, not everything's going to rock, but also be confident enough to know we killed this. And this was one when we finished blending, we finished proofing, we stood around and we sipped it and we went, this is something special. So
did you, so can I ask, is there any aspect of it you want to improve on most?
That is an excellent question. Honestly, genuinely, I wish there was a little more smoke.
Okay. Yeah.
Just a little.
Yeah, tiny bit.
I can see that.
Like, again, the idea of taking it as close to the edge as you can get and not going over. And there's
a little space.
I believe it's 28. It's the 2018 winter release.
Okay.
So the 2018 winter release, in the span of, I think, 3 weeks, I had 5 different people tell me that is my favorite thing that you have ever put out, that Whiskey Del Bac has ever produced, is the 2018 winter release. And because in that short of time, so many people told me that, I dug a bottle out of our archive.
Nice.
It's beautiful. It is. It has all of the notes of this. I'll have like, and I even told the distilling team, I'm like, we need to analyze this, because
totally,
it is even more smoky than this.
Yeah,
but it's beautiful. It's so balanced. It is not astringent. It is not too punchy, but there's a little bit of heat. So 2018 winter release. That is what I hope we can keep. That's what we can strive for. That's
great.
That year was, to the people who told me that, they were absolutely right. It is a brilliant, brilliant whiskey. Have they tried this one in comparison? I don't know yet. In fact, Abby, one of our distillers, she was just at an event last night that they were there. One of the people who told me that. And I should have said, hey, ask Chris what he thinks of this year's Ode.
Nice. Yeah. No, I respect anyone who could taste something and say, I want to keep this? And do you like, I mean, did the person before Veronica leave notes for how they made it?
That Veronica Vaughn.
He left production notes, but not what specifically went into 2018. And exactly. And so like,
Can you call him up?
We thought about it. I'm like, so Dustin is still friends with him, and I was like, Dustin, can you ask him what he did with 2018? Because it is just so well done.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And it's, again, obviously incredibly proud of this. Sometimes you talk about peak moments within your career. This was one of them where we pulled this and we tasted it, and we're like, we stand behind this. And but then again, after that, I was like, oh, 2018, you try 2018. And I set that one aside, and I was like, we should always strive to be better. And 2018 kind of slaps. And when I say kind of slaps, it's amazing. It's so good.
So I think you mentioned this, but do you think 2018 beat this?
Just because of the smokiness, yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
And that's again, why, that's probably the number one thing is I want a little more smoke on it. And the 2018 did that.
Out of personal selfishness, do you have any more bottles of this around?
Of Ode Islay?
Mm-hmm.
We actually do not at the distillery. We sold out in 9 days. 9 days.
Yeah, that's why I got on it quick. And you know who else has a bottle, Robbie? Bryce Marita got a bottle.
Bryce?
Yeah.
Now, that caveat, we sold out at the distillery. If you still have contacts here in Arizona, it's still on the shelves in Phoenix and Tucson.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, listeners, if you see it on the shelf, buy 2, 1 for Robbie, 1 for me, and then buy a third for yourself.
And shameless self-plug.
Buy a third for Robbie's second.
If you go to whiskeydelbac.com and you go to our whiskey tab and you click on Ode to Islay, we have been keeping an updated list of where the Ode is available.
Oh, good to know. Yeah. Listeners, check that out. Especially Marco and Casey.
It's a Friday,
AZ.
So we can hopefully get all the bottles before it comes out.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, Marco, Brian, whoever else is a listener out in Arizona, seriously, let us know. Buy one for yourself, but also hit us.
And if your liquor store doesn't have it, ask for it.
Okay. Good to know.
I have mentioned so many times to guys in Idaho, like, talk to the distributors. Figure it out. We got to get Del Bac up here. It's so good.
Especially, even Virginia.
Anything. All you guys.
I feel like we got a nice connection now. Yeah, worst ever.
Yeah. I was in Maryland for 3 years and we couldn't get into Virginia. I'm like, we're next to you.
Yeah, it's not even worth it. Yeah.
I'm an hour drive. I can physically drive this to your state stores. No. We're good.
Yeah, there's still certain old brands that we can't get here. Willet, for example, not even sold in Virginia.
Yeah.
And it's like one of the older ones. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's terrible. But
Messages
Mark
of
we appreciate you, man. We're gonna close out, but I appreciate everything, and let it be known rather that this will not be the last time we have you on the podcast.
As long as you keep inviting me back, I'll come back.
And then we just get to talk whiskey. So
exactly.
This portion was supposed to be a half an hour to 45 minutes. And
and it went
an hour right now.
Seriously, it's gonna be a long episode, but we love it.
It's hard to get me to shut up. I apologize about that.
No, you fit in with us.
No, yeah, absolutely, Mark. But Mark, we keep it up, and we'll keep it up as well. But any last words? Where can people find out more about Whiskey Del Bac? Let us know all the marketing stuff you know.
Oh yeah, the pluggable plugs. So whiskeydelbac.com, obviously. That gets updated regularly. We're on Instagram at Whiskey Del Bac, Facebook, Whiskey Del Bac. We have a TikTok, but it's not updated regularly, but also Whiskey Del Bac.
Hard.
But yeah, we update regularly across social. We try to be very engaged with everyone, and yeah, just, like I said, just feedback, good, bad, ugly. We appreciate it. And it means a lot to hear from everyone.
That's great. And you can check out Mark at Whiskey Icarus. Is that whiskey with an E or without an E?
It's whiskey without an E, only because the one with an E was not available.
Oh, that's great.
You make American whiskey and you left the E. Someone took it.
I'm glad you picked that as opposed to like whiskey 69 hashtag underscore Del Bac.
It's totally a ripoff of Kyle Kinane, one of my favorite stand-up comics. He had an album called Whiskey Icarus. And when I started distilling, I'm like, that is going to be my handle.
Perfect. Oh, I love it. That's great. And then you can check out Stephen Paul at Whiskey Del Bac.
Yes.
And Amanda Catherine Paul, I believe at her, basically her name, right?
Correct. And Stephen and Amanda are father and daughter. They are our co-founders of Whiskey Del Bac.
Yep. And give them a fist bump too, and tell Stephen that I want you to have a raise. And
it's recorded. It's recorded now.
Yeah, exactly. It's out there. Yeah. So, but Mark, we appreciate you, man. And we'll see you next time we have you on. But I wish you luck in the next distilling season. So
thank you so much. And again, thank you so much for the kind words. It really does mean a lot.
Oh, absolutely, man. All right. We'll see you later. So, as promised, a episode where it's a little different than normal. Like I said, if it's your first time viewing on YouTube for the show, very different than your average episode. So check us out again, whether you liked it or not. But if you are a recurring listener, we appreciate your support, and I hope you had a good time. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did with Mark, and I hope you guys have a great week. But most of all, listeners, I hope that our love of whiskey lifted your spirits.